Welcome back, and we're going to start with the Nation newspaper. Green bond oversubscribed by 91.4 billion naira. 47.36 billion naira allotted. DHQ steps up action against killers in Benue. Akume leads peace panel. Natasha's trial for defamation against Akpabio Bello begins September 23rd. That is on page 3. And over 250,000 Nigerians are refugees in Libya, Cameroon, others. Governors lift food distribution hurdles across states. Nigerians will enjoy good governance. Tinubu, Kaduna rising again after overcoming insecurity. President inaugurates projects. Kaduna will return Tinubu, says Abbas. Colonel Umar bags CFR. And that is it for the Nation newspaper. And moving on to the Daily Times. Terrorism charges. Kanu opens defense July 18th. Alleged defamation, Senator Natasha Akpoti docked. Granted 50 million naira bail. That is on page 14. FG settles 1.2 trillion naira pension backlog. Launches boost for 223,000 retirees. Kaduna visits. President Tinubu honors Dangiwa with national CFR title. Senate leader explains increase in Rivers 2025 budget proposal. Toga rallies West Africa against neo-colonialism at ECOWAS meeting. And finally, on the Daily Times newspaper, police nab 54 suspects in major crackdown in Akwa Ibom. That is on page 7. And now onto the Daily Trust newspaper. We have Benue, residents harbored killers, gave them food, defense chief. Ground rent, FCTA silent as 14-day grace period expires. Obasani turned Kaduna from toxic zone to hub of progress, President. Tinubu to choose running mate after convention, says the Presidency. And that is it on the Daily Trust. Now to the Vanguard. Benue massacre. Troops got wrong intel on attackers' movement. CDS. Survivors cry out over poor feeding, living conditions. That is on page 5. Israel-Iran conflicts. Trump to make war decision in 2 weeks. That is on page 8. And we have Zenith Bank navigating CBN's prudential measures with confidence. That is it for the Vanguard newspaper. And now we're moving on to The Guardian. And on The Guardian, we have experts reveal 50 million Nigerians with sickle cell warn against stigma. 1,500 killed in over 100 tanker accidents, NEMA discloses. 6,260 terrorists killed, 5,365 civilians rescued in 2 years, says DHQ. Violent attacks, peacetime killings question value of Nigerian life. That is on the big story pages 4 and 5 of The Guardian. Ibas alleges sabotage at budget defense as Senate reiterates democratic rule. Again, Tinubu inaugurates specialist hospital named after him in Kaduna. We have tension in Benue as herdsmen graze farmlands, youths intercept boss. And finally, on The Guardian, TCN accuses politicians, saboteurs of vandalizing electricity towers. On the Punch newspaper, we have Dangote blames crude shortage as imports from US surge. Israel threatens Khamenei after Iranian missiles wound 240. Food inflation. NSA, 36 states launch joint action. FG governors agree on free flow of goods across states to dismantle checkpoints, harmonize levies. Ribadu heads interministerial panel. Governors worry over World Bank funding delay. And that is it on the Punch newspaper. And on the Nigerian Tribune, Tinubu admits missing some names on Democracy Day, confers CFR on Dangiwa Umar on page 3. Dangote blames shortage of domestic crude oil for reliance on imports from US. Insecurity. Southern Middle Belt leaders lambast FG NAS. Condemn Forest Guards scheme, say emergency rule in rivers illegal, unconstitutional. That is on page 5. And that is it on the Nigerian Tribune and on our newspaper headlines this morning. And we have Chris Maduka here in the studio for the review as usual. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Uche.
How are you this morning?
I am well, thank you. And you?
I'm very well.
It's written all over you. And thank you for all the people who have joined the Signature TV this morning for our newspaper review.
Yes. Now, let's look at the headlines we have this morning. Natasha's trial for defamation against Akpabio Bello begins September 23rd. We also have granted 50
Uche, I suspect you are
leave.
bringing feminism and gender issues here. Why is it Natasha the first thing you have to ask about? But that's interesting. They are all stories we have to review. Natasha's trial for defamation against Akpabio and Bello begins September 13th. But they're all silent about the second attack on Natasha's home. There are news yesterday that Natasha's home has been attacked the second time, and the police confirmed such attacks. While they are pulling the woman around for just because she said, he accused somebody, that somebody said, come and make me happy, that every high trouble increased since that make me happy issue came up. I wish her well. As far as she's sure, she's saying the truth. No matter how people suppress and threaten, the truth will always resurface someday. We only wish her well, and that she should also be safe. Because any man who is surrounded by threats and enemies must always sleep with one eye open. It's an old saying, and don't ask me where I made the quote from, because I am from where the quote originated. So, initially, I didn't know that the former governor of Kogi State is also involved in the defamation. But now, Bello's name is suddenly appearing among the people that Natasha defamed. Well, good luck sorry for the people defamed, and good luck to the defamer. They should see us in court, hoping that the court will be as objective as possible to look at the case objectively and not be partisan. Over 250,000 Nigerians are refugees in Libya, Cameroon, and others. And over 5 million are refugees in Nigeria, in IDP camps. And the numbers are rising. Why are we always seeing? I know these are Nigerians, 25,000.
250,000. Yes.
In Libya alone, Cameroon, and others. So if you aggregate it, now when you come back home, add up the ones that are refugees in Libya, Cameroon, bring them to the refugees inside Nigeria. You see that Nigeria, we're not at home. Oh. Nigeria is not at home. Nigeria is not at home. And we are pretending, wanting to sound politically correct. Any community that is missing one by one and they are laughing and taking it for a joke, they will never remain. They will miss and miss until they go into extinction. This is only 3 countries. There may be other countries of the world where Nigerians are refugees because of hardship and hunger. Nigerians want to japa by any means possible. And some of them run into trouble. They jump from fire to frying pan. And this is it. Why don't we want to sort the issue of the sickness and leave off the symptoms? Because if home, Nigeria is safe, nobody will want to go anywhere to be a refugee.
Yeah. And we have Kaduna rising again after overcoming insecurity.
Well, it has to come from the people in Kaduna and not political correctness sources. Kaduna should tell us, because there was a time Kaduna faced what Benue is facing. And a section of Kaduna were most hit. A section of Kaduna indigenes were most hit. Those times it was Kaduna's turn of insecurity. It must not be like all negative all the time. If Kaduna rise again, hooray! Thank God and thank President Bola Tinubu, who is telling us that Kaduna is rising again after overcoming insecurity. When it was Kaduna, the number of people that died in Benue, Plateau, died in Kaduna that time. I don't know whether the dying has stopped or whether the killing has stopped. But whatever it is, if we want to choose the path of positivity, Kaduna rise again. Let all the states in Nigeria rise. Let us overcome insecurity. But we know that better soup than money maker. It's not by mouth or political statements that Kaduna will rise again. It's by action, political will to make Kaduna rise. And even any other city or state in Nigeria that is down because of insecurity, we all pray that they rise again.
Yes.
Let's move on.
And now we have FG settles 1.
Kaduna, this is important. Colonel Omar backs CFR. Colonel Omar is somebody who he has 9 lives. It's good that we talk about him. Colonel Omar sometimes escaped death was accused of being involved in coup in Nigeria. He passed through all the hurdles of court cases and martial, and today he's coming out with CFR. Fortunately, the president said some names were missed in the list he had. But what we only was kama abịaghịncha si bịa late. Ihe anyị na-asọ bụ abịaghịncha. Mana onye bịa late we can take. What we refuse is not to attend at all. But even if you come late, we accept. So even the late remembrance of Colonel Omar in the award of CFR, Commander of Federal Republic, it's still acknowledged. Thank you, President Bola Tinubu, for acknowledging Colonel Omar, a man with 9 lives. Congratulations, Colonel Omar. Nigeria has eventually recognized that you're a man who is ideologically true, standing in firm on what you believe. And today, in 2025, they recognized and they rewarded you. Congratulations.
All right, now moving on, we have federal government settles 1.2 trillion naira pension backlog and launches boost for 223,000 retirees.
This is wonderful, Uche. We have a lot of retirees among us, and the worst thing that happened to any Nigerian now is when you look at how retirees in Nigeria are being treated, you ask yourself, is this how I'm going to be when I retire? So it gives you, that's why most Nigerians, Japa, it's on you to look at their parents. And they say, Papa, now so, Mama, now so I go there when I get to your age, I better begin early to sort myself out, because this is a country that do not recognize the blood and sweat of people who built their nation. How can somebody serve a nation for 35 years as a civil servant? And then during retirement, to get the gratuity, he has to bribe. If he cannot bribe, he will have to be called every day. Every day, Nigerian government states, we call people for accreditation, biodata verification, and I keep asking myself, are these retirees, do they mutate? You have one central database of all retirees. If a retiree dies, his name will go off. Why every day you call all of them, both of them that are shaking like lily, very old people, and some of them will go for verifications and they will not return home alive. So you see, why all this punishment on pensioners? So if the federal government has paid backlog, it's a good thing. Federal government, do not, for God's sake, allow another backlog to accumulate. If you settle them ahead of time, somebody is already retiring on the path of winding down. Some of them are very old, and you are owing them backlogs. Will you pay them in the grave? Most importantly, corruption. Corruption, sleaze, wickedness is found in Nigerian pension scheme. Because even the people working in civil service today are involved in making sure that the people who retire do not get their pension and they will not benefit from the blood money. And they want to, when they retire, get their own. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever goes around comes around, Uche. So the measure by which you give people who have retired now and are suffering, you're seeing them, is the measure you get when you retire. For when a slave sees how a fellow slave is being buried, let that slave know that's how they're going to bury him or her when he dies or she dies. That's proverb of bone and silence for you Nigerians. But how long will these things happen to you Nigerians and you learn? The thing keep happening. Everybody is waiting for his turn. A miloko, a woloko. When it comes to your turn, will you be alive to see it? God help you.
Yes, and it looks like it's not just Colonel Umar that...
They gave so many people.
Yes.
I just picked Colonel Umar. The president said a lot of things came up in his head. They were forgot, and they now have to give them what you call the emergency or national award.
Yes.
But it's the award all the same. It's still national, whether it's given today or yesterday. So we recognize the president for at least ensuring that he told Nigeria he forgot earlier to do this, and he did it.
Exactly.
When he visited Kaduna.
And now the defense chief is saying that the residents of Benue harbored the killers and gave them food.
It's an indictment on our security forces, which the CDS is also part of. If ordinary Nigerians don't know anything, and because of the awareness, if Nigeria begin now to create, every Nigerian should be trained on security awareness. How to identify what is happening in your neighborhood. Because if people come, Nigerians are resilient and hospitable people. If people come and say, give me water to drink, I am thirsty, I give you water, you drink. They even give them food. And you don't have any place to sleep, they harbor them. How do we know whether they are killers? And if they are killers, they are coming from somewhere, which they say intel. A lot of indictment on the securities, and the CDS is opening his mouth to say. So if these people came, stayed with the Benue people, ate, dined and wined with them, and did other things with them, and then later attacked them and killed them, whose fault? Some people are paid to secure the people. And if that security was broke into that security and entered Benue and sat down whining and dining with people of Benue, and the people who are seen from top with their radar didn't see that, whose is indictment on the security? There are certain things they shouldn't be saying in the open. I'm sorry to say. But that they will give you the job of guarding us, and at the end of it, you said that you entered my house and saw that I've been killed because I wine and dine with. How did the man who wine and dine with me enter? But you are supposed to guard the door. You are the gatekeeper of security. So indicting ourselves and blaming and talking, and it's not. Whatever has happened, let's make sure that what happened in recent past do not happen in the recent future. That's all we ask. So it's unfortunate that we're getting that from the defense chiefs. They said so many things, but this open indictment is telling us to turn around and say, are we actually on the right track? But good luck, CDS. Let's say, I remember when the president was calling you, Christopher, where are the killers in Benue? Egbetoku, I know he was calling. I don't know whether you have answered that question. So all these ones that the residents harbored killers gave them food, the people of Benue State can give anybody food because they do kola nut with food. They are the food basket of Nigeria. That is not another thing. If they know they are killers, they won't offer them all those things. So somebody would have told them, these people are killers. But that's by the way. Let's leave that to the security.
All right, ground rent, FCTA silent as 14-day grace period expires.
Yes, there's always limit to some things. So if you give grace, if you go at as Pentecostal churches these days, you have ordinary grace, you have extraordinary grace, you have abundant grace, then you have everlasting grace. So the grace that is coming from FCTA has passed ordinary grace, is entering new level of grace. So we are watching. I'm sure their mind of granting grace to certain offices will not expire. But is the PDP own? I don't know. They might grant because a land over 34 embassies are involved in this. So it means you have to think about diplomatic grace. Think about Nigerian political grace. And if you have to give diplomatic grace, you go to embassies. When you come to political grace, then PDP must pay because their ground rent is over. But it's also an indictment on whatever the history of FCTA, that some people will owe ground rent for that number of years, and we are just discovering it. But don't sit at the modi babu. But let us be objective in all our dealings, because the history will be written over every of our action. I remember that song that is very popular with Anglican people. They used to call it CMS. They say, only by our works we shall be remembered. Only by our works. We will fade away like stars of the morning. But by our works we shall be remembered at any time. It's very, 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 very a big song that calls for reflection. Nigerians, of course, most people do not know about it. But the ones who know about it, if they remember that they will be remembered by the works they've done in Nigeria, they should be very cautious about what they do and say.
Yes. Now, moving on, we have the Israel-Iran conflict. Trump to make war decision in 2 weeks.
It's high time Trump make war decision so that we know what's happening. Because the Iranians are mainly the reprisal attacks. They attack a hospital in Israel, which over 230 people are wounded. They didn't tell us people who died. And it was a big hospital, one of the biggest, was attacked. So you can see, like I said earlier, when I was reviewing this issue, that greeting don't pass ankle level. So it's now turning into a big fight. And what the world should watch, that chicken is scattering human feces somewhere. And all the non-allied countries and the NATO, everybody, even in Africa, are saying, it doesn't concern us. It doesn't concern us. Let us get interested in Iran and Israeli war. Because, we are talking about the problems of Africa. If the world gets back in the third world war, will Africa survive it at this level of our development? And the third world war is going to be analog and digitally fought. And Nigeria is still between the bridge of analog. So we have to be careful and get interested. So once we see such chicken, let us pursue it, because we don't know who will eat the leg when it is. If this war broke up and all the world powers begin to align, like USA is being accused of aligning with Israel. If Russia align with Iran and France align, and all the aligning will go, when the two elephants begin to fight, the grasses will suffer. Let us begin to pray. If it's only what we do, Nigerians are good prayer warriors. But beyond being prayer warriors, we have diplomatic moves we have to make. So begin to call the world and UN to look at what is happening, because it can blow up into a global war. which becomes fight for all. That is all for free for all fight. Anybody you see, you kill, become the state of nature. And that will open more room for whatever we already are trying to fight in Nigeria. It will divert attention, and then everywhere will become porous.
All right, we are running out of time, but before we go, we have Iba's alleged sabotage as budget defense as Senate reiterates democratic.
Whatever brought Ibas is a sabotage. So whatever people are doing, sabotage begets sabotage and sabotage until they go there. So whatever they're talking there is sabotage. Even the people talking are saboteurs. The man who is accusing them as saboteur. Everything they're talking about so it's difficult for me because I'm not a saboteur. I cannot review issues of sabotage that somebody came under a saboteur or sabotage the situation. And you want me to review, and now he's crying foul. How can you, accept to be a friend to a man who is living with a disability, probably a hunchback woman? You accepted to be her boyfriend. And now, but you don't accept to carry her up and down. If you have a woman who has a hunchback as a girlfriend or wife, now you're going to carry them up, carry them down. So let the bus carry the National Assembly up, carry them down in their sabotaging up and sabotaging down. All in one that the River State people have found a peace. They find a way of giving up to them. Let them go in their sabotage. When they are tired, they will give them back their state. You can't hear anybody from River State. I respect River people. I never knew that. They just went flat. Sabotage yourself. When you finish, give us our state back. Because soldier come, soldier go. Barak remain. River State people are praying for time of sabotage, whether you call it emergency rule, go to Abuja, present budget. When you finish, we'll take back our state. Because whatever goes up must come down.
Yes.
And then Tinubu to choose running mate after convention. Did they choose to return Tinubu after the convention? APC National Working Committee has met and adopted Tinubu as returning running mate and the leader, flag bearer. And they left the, I thought is whenever the snail is crawling around, they will crawl with his shell. Upon a Bejuna Polo Kolike, Kazin Kayajuna and the APC, Polo, and left the Okoliko. I thought Shetima and Tinubu are the drivers of hope in Nigeria. Why at this time they are looking at themselves with a double eye? They will settle that when they go back to it.
We still have a lot of headlines. We still have a lot of headlines.
Another presidential, what they call it, is a long time.
Yes, but we don't have time on our side anymore. I know. Thank you so much, Chris Maduka, for your review this morning. And we'll go right into our conversations of the day in a moment. Stay with us.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.